Ladies and gentlemen, the International Conference on Sustainable Practice, Development and Urbanization 2021 is an event by the Center for Foundation and General Studies, PADU, University Selangor, UNISEL, that aims to gather fellow academicians, researchers, educators, and policymakers to share new findings, information, or issues and challenges faced, as well as looking for solution ideas which are in line with the themes of sustainability and modernity. Our conference theme is reimagining resilient sustainability and integrated effort in research, practices, and education. Welcome to I-ConSPADU 2021. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's conference. My name is Izzati Hanani and I will be your moderator for today's parallel section. Please be informed that each presenter will be given 15 minutes for their presentation and 5 minutes for Q&A session. I wish everyone a successful presentation and fruitful deliberation. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Madam Nur Hasbi Binti Abdul. Our first presenter today will be presenting on the topic, the effect of knowledge, altruism, and trust on behavioral endowment intention among private higher education alumni. I give the floor to you.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me? Clear? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, we start. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you to our moderator, Miss Moderator Izzati Hanani. And then I would like to thank for the organizer, the International Conference on Sustainability Practices, Development and Urbanizations, that give me an opportunity to present our paper entitled The Effect of Knowledge, Altruism, and Trust on Behavioral Endowment Intention among Private Higher Education Alumni. Before I would like to elaborate more about our paper, I would like to introduce our team. Me, myself, Nur Hasbi Binti Abdul Samad, followed by Dr. Kamisa Supian, Dr. Salina Rasli, and Madam Sakinah Muhammad Tajul Arifin. So this is our presentation outline that consists of 4 points. Number 1, I would like to introduce the introduction. The second one is research methodology. Number 3, findings. And the number 4 is conclusion. Okay, introductions. Wakaf for education is now being established in many nations in order to construct a school or colleges. The theory education in Malaysia has grown steadily since the country's liberalizations in mid-1990s. tertiary education in Malaysia has grown steadily since the country's liberalization in mid-1990s due to several education sector reforms. Okay, the number of public and private higher education institutions has been growing at a phenomenal rate. So it shows that endowment or Waqf fund education plays a significant role in the higher education institutions ecosystem. Okay. In Malaysia, the development of endowment funds or Waqf in education has become one of the main agenda for the Malaysia Higher Education Ministry to sustain the financial stability of education institutions. Regarding the growth of the country's human capital is heavily dependent on access to quality higher education. So in this paper, we are focusing on the fourth goal for the sustainable development goal, that is SDG. Okay. The Malaysian Ministry of Education MOE released the Higher Education Blueprint 2015 until 2025 on 7 April 2015. They are focusing the plan of Waqf is only for public higher education. So, but in terms of Malaysian private universities are struggling to maintain educational standard while also maintaining high quality standards. So from this plan, focusing on the Waqf itself, for the private higher educations, they have a lack of business mindset, inefficient management, fewer income generating activities, tight financial resources, and then inefficient management, and also with the tight financial resources and funding issue are often cited as a poor financial performance that according to the Bakat 2019. For the literature review, in our paper, we are focusing on the theory of planned behavior, TPB, by performing behavioral indifference areas with high accuracy predicting components from the attitude toward behavioral indifference. So there are 3 characteristics of psychological TPB. We are focusing on knowledge, altruism, and trust that influence behavioral endowment intention that are focusing in this paper. Okay, number 1, TPB characteristic, that is a knowledge and behavioral intentions we get from the sources. Understanding endowment of Waqf is critical since it may impact an individual's behavior. Okay, that is from Shukur, Itiol, and Wulandri and Rabbani, 2019. According to Karis and Shorinisa 2020, knowledge is the least significant factor influencing the attitude, which subsequently affect the intention to engage in giving cash. Under this point, under this point, this is the hypothesis. H1, knowledge is significantly influenced behavioral and non-intention among alumni of.
Dia fikir masing-masing dah pergi masing-masing. Apa kena pecah.
Okay. The second TPB characteristic, altruism and behavioral endowment, behavioral intention. The sources we get from altruism refer to the intention to pursue the ultimate goal of increasing others' welfare and not to obtain personal benefit. That is from Prefecture et al. 2021. According to SIME 2019, altruism encouraged prosperous people to make significant donation to make improve the well-being of the poorer. Okay. And then another author, people willingly donate their money to non-related individuals and organizations according to Frieden, Kurz and Maggie 2013. So this TPB characteristic, we are conclude with hypothesis, altruism is significantly influenced behavioral and normal intention among alumni of PHAI. The TPB characteristic number 3, trust and behavioral intention. Trust value can guide an individual decision and behavior when facing uncertain decisions. And then endower in Malaysia often feel insecure regarding the distributions of endowment due to lack information from endowment or wakaf institutions, according to Shadia et al. And Shuko et al. So we will conclude with the hypothesis number 3, that is trust is significantly influenced behavioral endowment intention among alumni of private higher education institutions. Okay. So Wakaf University expansions would not have been feasible without the federal governments and the larger community assistance. However, the role of society, particularly alumni, has been underestimated. Even though the institutions in West regards alumni donate to university endowment growth as very promising. Okay. Alumni donate less, most likely owing to financial considerations, aside from a lower sense of responsibility to the institution, since students must pay loans to pay for their studies and must pay study debt after graduation. That is the reasons from the alumni itself. Okay. So we are considering that the problem arises here is the alumni itself have the lack of information and knowledge concerning Wakaf has resulted in a poor degree of awareness and comprehension among the community or respondents. That is from the, according to Harun et al. 2016, Jalal et al. 2019. The other problems is the alumni itself lack of culture to contribute, give or redistribute donations through the involvement of alumni in this country is not as great a contribution tradition as in developed countries. Another issue is lack of trust or confidence in Wakaf institutions also contribute that the Wakaf institutions will be collapsed. That is according to Ahmad 2019. So from that problem statement, we are getting the research objective, where this study is to investigate the effects of knowledge, altruism, and trust among private higher education institutions alumni on their intention to contribute endowment of Wakaf. So we are having the 3 research questions. What is the relationship between knowledge and behavioral intention among alumni of PHAI? Number 2, what is the relationship between altruism and behavioral intention among alumni of private higher education institutions? And number 3, what is the relationship between trust and behavioral intention among alumni of private higher education institutions? So from these research questions, we have a purpose of the study in order to determine the significance of knowledge, altruism, and trust towards behavioral endowment our CAF intention among private higher education institution alumni. So the government contributions and the alumni involvement may contribute to the growth of endowment itself. Hence, the study established that the endowment system has the capacity to contribute to the development of sustainable educations. So that is our purpose of study. So the second outline for this research methodology, we are focusing on the 4 target strategies. Number 1, our research method. We are focusing on the quantitative study that will approach the sample data should be generalized and applied to the entire population in order to reveal the pattern and trends. Okay. So we are using the questionnaire. Questionnaire that is a highly structured questionnaire involved with the 7-point Likert scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay, until 7. 1 to 7. Okay. For the data collections, we actually using online survey questions to obtain the information. Approximately 200 responses were acquired through the use of purposive sampling method. However, only 104 respondents were considered valid for further analysis. So this is the sample size is consistent with Sakaran and Boogie 2010 that who recommended sample size of at least 10 times the number of variables. For data analysis, this study employed Smart PLS 3.0 to analyze data gathered from private higher education institution alumni in Klang Valley who serve as our study participants. Okay. So this is our main construct. There is a knowledge, altruism, trust, behavioral, endowment intention. So this is our definitions. And the number of items consists for the construct. Knowledge is 4, altruism is 4, trust 4, and behavioral endowment intention using 3. Okay, so this is our conceptual framework. From here, conceptual framework, we have a conversion validity, whereas the Cromba alpha and then composite reliability and average variance extracted is achieve all the main construct itself. Okay? This is more than the exceed 0.7. Cromba alpha value exceed 0.7. I'm not stated here in our slide. But Cromba alpha is more than the 0.7. For the discriminant validity, because we are using the PLS, Smart PLS, so this is, it shows that, okay, it shows that the sample size of, okay, this is more than 50% simulation runs, and then the relationships between the model construct is more, intention is 0.9 for intention, for knowledge is 0.910, and then altruism is 0.912, and then trust is 0.970. It means that the construct is acceptable, right? Okay. Okay. Number 3 is findings. Our research from our data analysis. Okay. So this is the path coefficient and hypothesis testing. So because of we have the hypothesis relationship H1 knowledge and behavioral endowment intention. They get decision did not support. However, hypothesis number 2 and number 3 altruism and trust support these findings. Okay. So it reveals that H1 did not support and it is not significant at P more than 0.05, whereas the H2 and H3 hypothesis on the other hand was supported and at significant at P 0.05. Okay. Now I'm focusing on the hypothesis number 1. That is a beta 0.122, and then P is more than 0.05. Okay. Okay. And then this is less than more than 0.05 does not significantly influence behavioral endowment intention in the analysis. Okay. It is supported by the study done by Shadia et al. 2017, and also with according to Shukur et al. 2015, donating cash to a wakaf is considered sadaqah. This understanding of the concept of wakaf or sadaqah may have resulted in a non-significant result between knowledge and behavioral endowment intention. Okay. Now we are focusing on the hypothesis number 2. Altruism was shown to significantly influence the behavioral endowment intentions or generosity. The second most important factor may be influenced by the religiosity factor. Okay. High faith Muslim will without a doubt follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders, which include being generous in this particular construct, altruism. Okay. Then hypothesis number 3, that is trust. Beta is 0.255, and then P value is less than P 0.05 was simulation to significantly influence behavioral endowment intention in this research, which is consistent with the findings by Shadia et al. 2017. So in this, Muslim donor willingness to engage in endowment or wakaf giving behavior that is described as being heavily influenced by the level of trust. So in addition, public goodwill is built on trust. This is according to Osman et al. 2016. People are less likely to donate to charities if they have low confidence in them. So as a conclusion, so the endowment of wakaf is a valuable resources for the advancement of the Muslim community as a whole, particularly through higher education. Okay, endowment of wakaf in higher education is an institution that give Muslim a place to do good deeds in addition to provide opportunities and facilities for them to gain knowledge. Whereas the impressive global experience of those universities with an endowment of wakaf could serve as aspiration for the Malaysian government and other countries to establish the endowment of wakaf-based higher education institutions. So before my end of presentations, I would like to encourage all of the participants to contribute wakaf or endowment of wakaf for the society in order to is not only for the reward in this world, but we would like to get the reward in the hereafter. Thank you.
That was a fruitful session from our first presenter. I would like to ask to our audience to ask any inquiries to our first presenter. Anyone? You can just type in the chat box or open your microphone to ask your inquiries. Is there any question to our first presenter?
I would like to ask, I'm Dr. Shikin from UTM Kuala Lumpur. I just want to know, when the researchers were doing this research, did you what we call this, do you do any benchmark against, like, for example, you mentioned just now about our endowment activities as not as active as in the developed nation? They are, the philanthropic work, they are in a sense better than us. So is there any comparative reason why that happens and it's not happening in Malaysia?
Okay.
Okay, actually I'm interested to know what are the incentives provided by developed nation in encouraging the people to do philanthropy work, especially when it comes to donating money for the purpose of education.
Okay. Regarding the endowment or wakaf, for this time being, for the public higher education is actively implementations, but in terms of private higher education, this is so little. Okay, but now they are growing to encourage higher educations to contribute wakaf. So back from the creation itself, because of that is a little, it's not actively implement, but it's actually we still now growing to encourage people to give wakaf. Okay, when we are looking in terms of giving sadaqah or wakaf, maybe in terms of higher education itself, if you because of the implementation of wakaf is based on the state itself, state negeri kan, okay. So if the certain state established with that university, they can give some incentive. It's not the incentive, but in terms of is it taxable? It depends on the institution itself. If they establish with the under the, for example, in Selangor, they have a pusat wakaf PWS. So meaning that they have the contributions itself. Okay. So that is based on the state, the implementation itself based on the state. That's why when we are looking in terms of zakat is different, and then wakaf is different. Okay. So this is we are growing to implement the wakaf itself. So that's why when we are looking in terms of private higher education, we would like to encourage people to donate something, to donate something and then give back to the society. It's not only for the higher education itself, but we are giving back to the country, giving back to the university that we learned before. So that will help others to get it improved. Is it?
Okay. Okay. If that's the case, I think, all right, I understand what you're saying, but I think there's a bit, you leave a very there's a big point. You leave a point there. I think in your introduction, it's good if you can say that you are focusing on wakaf from Islam point of view, because you are mentioning just now about state, about religious body. That is wakaf for the Muslim, but for the non-Muslim as well, they can do this philanthropy. Of course, they don't call it wakaf. They don't call it. They just call it donation or philanthropic work.
Endowment. That one is
Or
endowment.
endowment, yeah, that is falls under philanthropic work. So I think you can make that clarification. So it's so when we read your article, then we know that you are only focusing on the wakaf from Muslim point of view or Islam point of view. It's not applicable, or your research is not does not cover the non-Muslim. Nothing. Thank you anyway.
Okay, all right.
Thank
Thank you for the comment, constructive comment.
Right. Thank you for the questions and answers. It was an insight for us. And now we shall move on to the next presenter. Now I would like to invite our second presenter. I give the floor to Dr. Kamisa Sukian. The topic of her paper is community-based homestay activities, sustainable or perishable tourism. You may start now.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. All right, hold on. I'm sharing my slide. Nampak tak? Slide saya nampak tak?
Yes, we can see pretty well.
Nampak. Sorry. Basically, I'm not preparing for these presentations. I thought I'm going to be offline, the presentation. Anyway, thanks again to the organizer. All right, thank you to the moderator, Miss Hanani. All right, okay, so I'm going to start to present my part here. Okay, my topic will be on community-based homestay activities, sustainable or perishable tourism. I would like to introduce my team members, myself, Kamisa, and then followed by Puan Azdita, Miss Ida Farina, and Encik Abu Naim. So all of us from the Faculty of Business Accountancy from UNICEF. Okay, basically, we're going to touch on this research on this particular topics, community-based homestay activities. All right. Okay, so when talking about tourism, all right, so tourism basically is one of the most important contributors to our GDP, okay, which is after the manufacturing and commodity sectors currently. And then when talking about the tourism, one of the part in the tourism sector is we call it as what we call homestay activity. And then this homestay activity, normally we are referring to the community-based homestay activities, which is basically involving in rural areas, okay, which include people lifestyles, okay, local people lifestyle, cultural heritage, traditional food, economic activities, recreations, and then people are looking for the environmental preservations. Basically, this one is to attract guests or tourists from local and internationals to the rural area. All right. And then according to 2014, basically this homestay program normally is served as a spur of local economic growth in practice. Okay, and then we want to ensure that these activities will be, in other words, competitive in Malaysia or other way around. All right. So this study will look into the community-based homestay activities, awareness, and perceived contributions to rural areas, socioeconomics, and physical sustainability in Selangor. So we are focusing in Selangor only because basically why we are focusing in Selangor. So this research is funded by the state of Selangor. Okay, so a little bit about these issues, why we look into this particular, what we call matters. Okay, tourists has been highly concerned by scholars basically, which is basically engaged in sustainable tourism development, exploring the precedent impacts, key actors, performance indicator, and climate effect. Okay, and then basically when talking about the CBT, okay, sustainable factors have been widely addressed to measure the CBT. Okay, sustainable for economic, social, cultural, environmental reason, as well as for life satisfactions. So this one already done by Lee and Jen in 2019 research. Okay, the WTO has adopted 3 types of criteria for sustainable development in tourism sector. Okay, the first one, they are looking into the protecting environmental resources. Number 2, they are providing local community with economic and quality of life. And then the third one, they are looking into, in other words, providing visitor with high level of quality. Okay, so basically we are now in what we call pandemic, all right, COVID-19. In the course of this MCO, tourism-friendly premises must be vacated, basically, including homestay operators. Okay, despite that, the participation of different stakeholders in development of the homestay industry will boost the homestay economy in the short term. Moreover, community participation and local participations may have impact on homestay business. So basically, we just, in other words, when talking about the COVID-19, it's almost 2 years. All sectors affected, one of the most affected is the tourism sector. Okay, so this is basically our benchmark. In other words, why we do this research, okay, which is basically looking to the problem faced by the homestay operator in Selangor, and then we look into how does community-based tourism in Selangor can be intensified. So according to the finding in some literature, basically COVID-19 pandemic has significant impact on the travel and tourism industry. Therefore, this study focuses on the problem faced by the homestay operators in Selangor and how this community-based tourism can be enhanced in sustaining the homestay program in Selangor in terms of economic, social, culture, and the environment. The homestay development program had a variety of effects on the local communities. So in general, basically, we are using qualitative approach, okay, qualitative approach, which is basically we are having in-depth interview, okay, and then this interview normally is we construct the interview based on the standard and semi-structured interview, okay, because it is easier to guide to cover up the research activities that are not directly administered to the respondent. So normally we went to the particular what we call area, okay, with 3 interviews, okay, and then normally 2 of us will handle the interview, the other one will record the responses, okay. The interview took around 45 to 60 minutes, okay, and then normally this research involving the what we call Ministry of Tourism, Art, Culture, Selangor, MOTEC, yeah. We choose only 3 homestay operator, okay, for this interview. All right. So those are Haji Durrani Homestay, Sungai Sia Homestay, and Bang Huris Homestay, because 3 basically the activity is very aggressive, and basically these 3 also homestay operator have what we call proper homestay activities. Okay, that's why we choose these 3 as our respondent to collect the informations. Okay, go through the interview. Basically, we found out that the result, okay, which is we can say from the interview, less number of youth participation. So basically, when talking about the what we call community-based activities, it's quite difficult when talking about the who's going to be in other taking over the business. okay, the new generations. So basically from the interview, we found out that the participation from the youth is very less. Okay, why? Because most of them, we call it as the new generation is not interested in participating in the homestay program because of there is no fixed income earned. Okay, because their earnings is based on the numbers of guests coming in, okay, in that particular what we call activities done by these homestay operators. So that's the reason why the involvement one of new generation is very less in number. Okay, the second finding we find out that there is a lack of financial resource and capital. Okay, almost all respondents said that establishing a homestay program that meets the Ministry bare minimum criteria is difficult due to lack of financial resources and capital. Financial constraints and capital prevented them from purchasing or renovating additional facilities. Okay, especially for those which is 100% relying on the numbers of guests coming to their homestay. Smile and Out 2020 proposed in their study to use social entrepreneurships to boost the homestay industry competitiveness following the outbreak of the coronavirus disease by the involvement of MOTEC. So in other words, this one suggested by these researchers, which is basically, if let's say we want to intensify, to enhance these community-based activities, they can propose in terms of what we call entrepreneurships among these youth, or in other words, the next generations. Okay, another finding, we find out that lack of commitment and cooperations. Researchers discovered that homestay operators' attitude influence their level of commitment. Homestay can only be successful if there is a strong bond between the communities involved, as it is a tourism concept solely focused on providing a service. Okay, so in other words, here we are saying, because this one is community-based tourism, normally they are involving what we call the community in that particular rural area. So in other words, they need commitment from them, okay, from the villagers especially, all right? So in other words, okay, this is important to have a strong bond between them, between the communities involved. This finding is consistent with Noor and Awang, where he said that same issues, commitment and cooperation among homestay operators they found out in their study. Okay, the next finding we find out that lack of leadership quality and organizational management. Okay, operators that are registered with the homestay associations and they were involved in the management or administrations of the homestay. In other words, they are saying here, okay, they are just registered. Okay, there is a one person in charge. Okay, and then they just get the directions. They are not really involved in the what we call management or administration of the operations of the homestay activities. Okay, this may be seen in the number of complaints travelers have made about the quality of the service they received. So basically, remember, when talking about these community-based activities, normally they are involving many people in that particular area, okay, to be involved in this particular activities, what we call community-based. So if let's say there are 10 families, for example, involved, they might be having different activities they are offering. So if let's say they are taking in terms of leadership quality, in terms management, it's quite difficult to run those what we call the activities offered smoothly. Okay, another findings we find out that lack of marketing and promotional activities. Most homestay operators and other tourism service providers rely on word of mouth and direct contact for booking, either by phone or email. So in other words, they are just what we call having this spread about these activities from this rural area, okay, based on the mouth to mouth, in other words, okay, and then they just look into direct booking. Either they are calling directly or through email to that particular homestay operators. Okay, they were not familiar with digital marketing for potential as a tool for marketing their business. Basically, they are aware about this, what we call digital marketing, but they are not fully what we call known about these potentials of this digital marketing. Okay, that's why they are not able to spread the activities out there, okay, widely, okay, broadly, okay. So according to Singh and others, okay, social media may help homestay operators learn more about tourist behavior and tourism practices by providing them with the most recent information. So understood. Nowadays, what we call social media playing a good role in our marketing, all right? How they, what we call spread the information, okay, it's not just locally, can across the border of the world. So that's the benefit having this what we call digital marketing. Okay, in conclusion, we would say Malaysia Homestay Program has had a considerable positive impact on the local economy and community development. Therefore, the issue of community capacity in the process of community tourism development is an important focus of this study. Okay, to ensure that community tourism development truly functions as a catalyst for rural community development, especially in Malaysia. Explorations of community empowerment, which cover aspect of human capital. Okay, so this one is very crucial. Human capital, organizational, okay, now do it how to lead that particular business, and then the social capacity involvement of the community, okay, is very critical and important. And don't forget, digital information should also be applied in the development homestay program internationally. While Malaysia homestay and travel industries have suffered during MCO, it is optimistic about the industry long-term prospect. Immediate actions is required to boost the local economy. When the MCO period is over, economic cycle can be restored and more community members' mental and physical health can be restored with timely and appropriate planning. So I think that's all from my part. Thank you. I would like goes back to the moderator Hanani.
Thank you, Dr. Kamisa. Right. I think it was an insight and very intense issues among the community-based tourism. So our second presenter provided us with an excellent session. So I would like to invite any of our audience to ask questions to our second speaker. Anyone? You can unmute your microphone or type in the chat box. I think one of the audience has been unmute his or her microphone. Is there any questions or any queries? Can ask on. All right. Okay. I think we shall move on to the third presenter, shall we?
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Alana, stop sharing.
Okay, now I would like to invite our third presenter, Professor Dr. Nur Azila, on the topic of individual factor on halal cosmetics usage among millennials, social influence as a mediator. I give the floor to you.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, everyone. I bid good morning to Hanani Izati. So sorry, Hanani, because I was looking for the name Izati just now. So that is why I asked in the chat box. Okay, you're the same person. All right, everyone. I'm so honored to be here today. I'm going to present my papers together with my other research team members from Indonesia. There are two of them from two different universities. One is TIKA, the other one is Dr. Hendra from two different universities, as well as the local university, Dr. Mazni Saad, and then my students, Aisha Maulad Hamza. Our topic is individual factor on halal cosmetics usage among millennials and the social influence as a mediator. All right, I would present accordingly like this. This is the outline of my presentation. Start with the background of the study. I don't know, it goes very fast. And then the literature review, and of course, methodology, and then the discussion, the finding, and as well as the discussion and conclusion. Okay, for the background of the study, as we all know that now, Islam is a very fast growing religion. And of course, the Muslim population is growing up. So it is predicted by the year of 2023, the amount of money that is spent on the makeup, Muslims particularly, will be increasing. So starting from, it was predicted from 61 million USD, it goes up to 91 USD. So also Azila Hussein et al. Also postulated that halal product is on a higher demand. And of course, when you talk about cosmetic, the focus groups are the millennial, those are the young ones. So they're really particular about buying halal cosmetics, yeah, compared to the old ones. I imagine when I was younger, I really love to use cosmetic rather than when it's not as much as when you're young, you see, and you are at this age. All right, that is why we choose millennial as our focus groups. And then we employed the self-determination theory to show here what are the Malaysian millennial in order for them to use the halal cosmetics. So this theory by Daisy and Ryan, 2000, saying that people have certain predisposition to be attuned to the new experience. All right, so this study has twofold objectives. Number one, we want to identify what are the factors that influence halal cosmetic usage. And also we want to see the role of social influence as the mediator. And as you know, that cosmetic is booming nowadays. So this study is in line with the SDG 3. That is, we want to strengthen the prevention for any abusement of the substance, harmful products. All right, so it's really tailored here. So what is the problem here? Since we know that the millennial make up quite a big a portion of the whole population. So they are at this age, and you could see from the statistic here, this is the Department of Statistics Malaysia, so millennial actually comprises of 26% of the overall population. So this is considered related studies that we want to know what makes them buy the halal cosmetics. So of course we start off with the literature review. So these are the people, the researchers that talk about usage halal cosmetic. So I won't read them all, but maybe I just pick one or two. Here we are saying that Nazri, the latest one, this year, yeah, 2021, saying that the female millennial about this age, so they are the one that have the most intention to buy halal cosmetic. And what else? And they buy because the demand is there, and then because of the authoritative department in Malaysia, we have JAKIM. So once we have that, they are more confident to buy halal cosmetics. Okay, so I move on to the next variable. The just now halal usage is our DV, dependent variable, and we move on with our first independent variable, that is individual factor. So Yo et al. Saying that most people would buy things that are environmental friendly. So this is quite important, that most of the cosmetics are now is halal cosmetic are environmental friendly. So there are more awareness, as I said earlier, from the authorities department in Malaysia. JAKIM plays a very good role here that in informing the public which one is halal, which one is not halal. So Ishaq was saying that for the millennial, they are per se, they are actually buying only the limited decision making, meaning that they already have in their mind what is it that they want to buy. It's limited. They didn't go for any other things that they don't like. Okay, so Khalid et al. Also, this is quite current, most current one, 2021, saying that attitude and positioning factors accurately actually predict the customer purchase intention. Okay, Arifin also saying that there are a lot of positive attitude people into buying halal cosmetic. Yeah. So I move on to the second IV, that is religiosity, because this is halal cosmetic. And for information, I'm just doing this for all the Muslim respondent. So we want to know whether religiosity affects their intention or not. So the literature saying that the higher degree of strictness of the individual, mean the more religious they are more aware, and they are more intent, and their intention is higher in buying halal, whatever halal. So in this case, that is halal cosmetic. And Brina and Mursito also saying that actually religiosity is an individual commitment to their religion. And you see, as if they were to buy cosmetic that is halal, so they feel good because they already comply with the religion. Okay, Sharia compliance. So Sofano was saying that religiosity actually influence both the women's cognitive as well as affective attitudes, okay, regarding cosmetics. All right, so I think Memon et al. Saying that religion actually there's no moderating influence. That's quite interesting. I will explain more later. Yeah. So our next variable is social influence. So we want to know whether social influence has anything to do with the millennials' decision in buying halal cosmetics. So that is also, I think all of them are quite current, yeah? Saying that the beauty care product advertised in Asia, particularly, to be one of the quickest developing market. Yeah, and Mohizar also agreed that selection of makeup actually formed by social weight and assessment of the reference gathering. And Muhammad and Lee saying that social factor actually impacts the item towards whatever that they want to buy. All right, but Nora and Minati saying that social factor actually cannot direct the client's purchase intention. You see that a lot of variety of ideas of whatever that we know from the LR about social influence. This is our research framework. So we only have 4 variables. This halal cosmetic is our prime interest of the study, and then individual factor and religiosity are our IVs, and the social influence is the mediator. So therefore, we come up with 7 hypotheses, and 1 to 5 are the direct relationships, and then hypothesis 6 and 7 are the mediator. This is the one that we put the red line on it. Okay, how do we go about that? How do we carry out the study? That is the methodology. This is a cross-sectional study. We only do it once, but who knows that we want to do it later, that becomes a longitudinal. And this is quantitative study, and it's the respondent, we take it as random sampling. The respondents are the millennials, the university students, and we managed to get up to 161 respondents. And we use Likert scale 1 to 7 instead of 1 to 5, because we thought 1 to 7 is more precise. And then we adapted the questionnaire from this based on the literature review. So these are the ones that we adopt and adapt question accordingly. And we use Smart PLS for the measurement, for the analysis. We want to see the measurement model as well as the structural model. So these are the analysis, first of all, of the respondents' profiles. So you could see gender. We are also getting male, because male, when you talk about cosmetic, it's not necessarily just male, female, but actually nowadays, especially the university students, the young ones, they are also cautious about their beauty and their appearance. Therefore, we do include them as one of our respondents. So the one in red are the majorities. You see, so for this particular study, female, the majority want 67.1%. And you see for the university type, the public university is slightly higher, it's higher than the private one. Okay. And then the education level, because they are all education, they are university students. So the highest majority, the majority of the respondents come from the degree students, 64.6%. And you could see here for the age, you see there are 23 to 25. So 55, it makes up to 55.3%. And then the reason why we ask them why you buy the halal cosmetics. So most of them, the majority would say because the Islamic thoughts, followed by friends' recommendation, and then, but mostly it's all because of the Islamic thought. Okay, next. This is the reliability. Of course, if we want to make sure that our study is good, we must make sure that all the data is good, meaning that it comply all the requirements. So in this case, we are using the factor loading or the Smart PLS. You could see that the loading altogether, they are all 0.7 above, except 3 items. Those are lower than 0.7. So that is why I put it in red. That is the one that I deleted. So after that, that is still okay because there's still 4 items left. So then only I run the rest. So we by looking at the AVE, it's still okay, 0.7. Maybe social influence is 0.6, which is acceptable. And then you could see for the CR is also 0.7 above, and also for the chroma alpha, they are all 0.7 above, confirming that all the data are reliable. Then we move on to the next one. This is the structural model that you could see. There are some items being dropped off here and here for the social factor. Instead of 5, there's only 4. Same thing goes to halal cosmetic usage as well as the religiosity. So there are drop off, leaving only 4 items left each. Okay, so you could see here the R squared. For the halal cosmetic usage, that is 47.2%, which is considered for social science is considered good. Okay, next I move on to the discriminant validity. This is final lacquer result. We just want to show, why do we carry out discriminant validity? We just want to make sure that there is no multicollinearity issues. So by looking at the numbers here at the outer part, the one that I bold them, so they are all bigger than the number which is inside. So showing that this particular item really testing on what is supposed to be testing, meaning that halal cosmetic usage is only talk about halal cosmetic usage, is not overlapping with other variables. All right. So therefore, our data is good. So here in the structural model assessment, we have, I'll show you the first 5 first, because the first 5 hypotheses, are the direct relationships. So you could see here, all are good, all are supported except H3, hypothesis 3. You see, why hypothesis 3 is, what is hypothesis 3? Hypothesis 3 is the religiosity does not significantly affects the halal cosmetic usage. I'll explain more on this. All right, the rest are okay. See, doesn't mean that it's not significant, it's not okay. It's just that in this case, why is that so? Yeah. So now I'm explaining to you the other analysis. This is the mediating analysis for the hypothesis 6 and hypothesis 7. And for hypothesis 6, it is not supported, showing that the individual factor and then the SI here, the social influence, does not mediate the relationship between IF, individual factor, and the halal cosmetic usage, but it does in religiosity and social influence. You could see just now in H3, as I told you, H3 is when it has a direct relationship, it is not supported. But here, when it has the mediator, it is supported. It's quite an interesting story here. All right, this is the conclusion that I could say of the three predictors that we have here in this study. That is individual factor, social influence, and religious factors. They are accounted for 47.2% of halal cosmetic consumption, indicating that all these variables are critical in the generation for which individual factor contributed the most. See, of all those three. And you could see that social influence has mediated the relationship between religiosity and halal cosmetic usage. Overall, all the hypotheses, there are 7 altogether, only 3 are not supported. Mind you, if it's not supported, doesn't mean it's not good. So there are reasons why that is happening. So in this case, we are saying that the highest beta here, this is for 0.48 for individual factor, showing that it is the highest and it is the significantly related to HCU, halal usage, cosmetic usage for Malaysian millennials. As I said earlier, religiosity does not impact, though doesn't mean that you are religious, the more you buy, which is contradict with the previous study, you see, the more you have the intention of buying halal cosmetic. All right. So the mediation analysis here showing that the SI, social influence, can influence the choice of halal cosmetic, which is impacted by the religiosity. Anyway, since individual factor contributed the most, it means that the individual is very confident in using the products. It's not yet thoroughly influenced by religious element. So whether or not they're religious or not, it does not give them, it's not their choice of choosing halal cosmetic, but in fact their own choice, their individual factor. They want it, you see, they want it, they believe it. So that is why they buy it. Okay, maybe probably in this case, they know about the advantages of having healthy and safety products, which in this case, it's really in line with the suggested theory that we have had earlier, that is self-determination theory. Okay, millennial here showing that they are not, I mean, though they doesn't mean they are not religious, they are religious, but the religiosity element does not affect them, does not affect their decision in buying halal cosmetic usage. And in this case, the other study mostly saying that actually, talking about the individual factor here, the individual actually is very adamant, very, what do you call, determined on, they know exactly what they want. They have their own conviction in buying whatever that they want, in using whatever they wish. All right, so that is individual factor. And here, though we ask them about the social influence, but it does not affect them. No peers, I mean, their friends, their good friends, and their family also does not influence them. They decide themselves. Okay, so here we can conclude that the millennial actually, they have their own perception, their own attitude, their own behavior in using, specifically when they are using halal cosmetic usage for their daily routine. All right, so they are the one who feel they should be the one decide what to do and what to buy in their own daily decision making. All right, I think that covers all. I would end up this presentation with a quote by Dick Sykes saying that millennials are the most loyal generation to their favorite brands, with just over 50.5, meaning over half, saying that they are loyal and quite loyal to their favorite brands. So this one is a very important quote, crucial quote for the manufacturers of halal usage. So they should be targeting the millennial in order for them to produce better quality of halal cosmetics. All right, with that, I thank you all for being attentive listeners. Any question you could have asked me via WhatsApp or phone call at this number and at this email address. Now it's open for any questions. All right, Hanani, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Nur Azila. Right, it was an insightful and I think it is an interesting topic to lean on, right? So it was a compelling presentation from the third presenter. Is there anyone in the crowd who wants to ask questions, who want to deliver their inquiries? You can unmute your microphone or type in the chat box below.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, Dr. Azila. Okay, it's a good topic basically, talking about the halal cosmetic.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondering on the finding, which is basically you are saying religious city has not supported, right? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But the finding shows which is basically it is supported by mediating.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So my questions here. On what basis you pick up as what we call, since the regional city is not significant, okay, on what basis you add on the what we call your mediating factor just now? Forgot what is your mediating?
Social influence.
Okay. On what basis you pick up this social media that one as your mediating in order to be, in other words, supporting your regional cities? On what basis?
Because previously, there are also, thank you, Dr. Kamisa, for very interesting questions. As I told you earlier, religious city, even it has the direct, that is H3, direct relationship, it is not significant. But then when it comes to social influence, it mediates, meaning it becomes significant by the help of this social influence. So your question is, why do I choose social influence? Is it, Doctor? Yeah, because previous study also saying that actually social influence does impact to whatever decision. That is what you call normative behavior of certain, that the previous study was saying so. So that is why I picked that up. So I would see whether, because I would see whether this one would affect the halal cosmetic usage or not. And true enough, that was religious. By having this, the social influence, it does help to make it significant. Though previously religiosity, when it has direct relationship, it is not significant. So here you see social influence it works to those who are religion, maybe due to the information that they have, maybe because of the influencer that they have. But interestingly, it doesn't affect to the millennial. They don't care. That's my study is all about. Does that answer your question?
Okay, basically you have to go back, basically the measurements, how you choose. Okay, there is a conflict between basically. So in order to make sure the role of mediating effect will be factored on your research, basically you have to look into your direct relationship. It should be supported, okay, significant, and then you may proceed for the mediating. So basically there is a rule which is you have to look back into that particular basic lah. And then your answers, basically there are some researchers which is saying social influence playing as a mediating. That is another part issues. So in other here we have to look back on the basis when you are deciding if this factors, for example, in this case, religiousness can be play as what we call proceed to the next step, put it on this particular mediating factors just now. So there is a basis in decisions. We do need to proceed the mediating or not the process. So in other words, you have to look back into this particular process. So in other words, when talking about social influence, yes, correct. Okay, there are studies saying social influence play as mediating. That's what, no issues on that. So on the goes back on the religiosity issues. Since you are saying religiosity issue has not significant, okay, on this particular halal cosmetic usage, is it can proceed to the next step? So here you have to look back into that. Okay, that's all.
All right, I take note on that. Thank you. Any more questions?
Prof, just nak tahu, this is something maybe unrelated to your research, but this is just a general question.
Right.
When you are doing the research, how many actually there are local cosmetic producer, local halal cosmetic producer?
Oh, I do not have the exact number, but you're talking. But I have a student studying on a women entrepreneur in halal cosmetics. That's a lot, doctor. But then for women alone, that is not many. But the number keep on increasing. In Malaysia, they have a society. They have a group, so you can easily go. Maybe my student have gone to that website, and that is why she.
Oh, they
got
have a
the number.
website. Okay.
Yeah, they do have a website.
All right.
So that's why they have the numbers, doctor.
All right. I'm interested in what we call the homegrown halal cosmetic producer.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Homegrown local products. Very good.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Well, good luck with that research, doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Rao.
Yes. Any more questions? Okay.
It's my turn to present. I can't see.
I think there are two questions on your behalf. So shall we move on to the next presenter?
Alright.
Presenter. Right. Thank you, doctor.
Right. Thank you, Hanani, and all the participants.
Welcome. Now, I would like to invite our fourth presenter to present her paper. The topic of her paper is paraphrasing the meaning and measurement for socioeconomic objective in the context of Malaysia. So I give the floor to the Associate Professor Dr. Nur Ashikin Mohamed Yusof. You may start now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Okay, this is okay. This is my slide. Like others, I was caught by surprise anyway when the organizer called me and informed me. So I'm sorry. It seems like a lack of preparation on my part for this slide. But anyway, without much ado, we just make do whatever with whatever we have. Okay, my topic is paraphrasing the meaning and measurements of social economic objectives in the context of Malaysia. This is actually partial findings of our project with MOSTI. These are my team members, 5 of us, Dr. Prof. Zamri, Dr. Shadia, Dr. Intan, Dr. Hasliah, and myself. So this is, I think this is very important for us, especially for researchers. So let me give some background about this project. When we are talking about socio-economic developments, there's a lot of almost similar concept. I think most of us have heard of something like sustainable development, sustainable forest management, sustainable economic development, social economic development, social economic objectives, and finally, yeah, the most famous now, I think the top of the town is sustainable development goals. But actually, in reality, when you do some readings and when you start digging, you may find that these concepts are interrelated. They were actually expansion of the other. Yeah? So for example, sustainable development goals is actually an expansion of the earlier concept, which was socio-economic development. And likewise, socio-economic development was an expansion of another earlier concept of sustainable development. Why this happened? This has happened for the last, I think, 20 years. It all started officially when people becomes during those days in 1960s, very few people talking about green economy or green environment. Yeah? So very few eco warrior, genuine eco warrior, one or two maybe, but not well known. But this awareness about protecting our planet Earth and environment started to gain what we call these influences in 1980s. Why is that? Because in 1960s, of course, a lot of countries are still under colonization. This is something to do with historical factor. Not very much developed, but in 1980s, where is the point of time where we start seeing the aggressive development processes taking all over the world. So because of that, of course, obviously, when we talk about development, our resources, our natural resources that comes from the forest, that comes from the clean environment, become the what we call this, the first victim. So that is why throughout the 20 years, various concept of sustainable development was introduced, as you can see in the slide. So and then like I said just now, in 1980s is where the world started to take more aggressive steps in protecting the environment. So nowadays, before the SDG, the concept of socio-economic development was introduced, because before this in 1960s, as I can show here, before this in 1960s, what happened is that development was viewed solely from economic point of view. So plundering of resources or over-exploitation of the environment was an acceptable thing to do. And it was done in the name of development, in the name of technological progression, and also in the name of what we call this technological and social economic development. So because of that, when the things were over plundering and over exploitation happens, like I said just now, the nature becomes the first victim, and then because of that, in some areas, the effect becomes irreversible, or they are found in a sorry or a sorrier state. So because of that, there is a need, there is a global awareness about the need to balance this equilibrium between environment, economy, and social. And then, as you can see, as point number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7, these are all international movement towards protecting the environment. I think maybe the young generations, maybe the younger generations are more familiar with Agenda 21 and onwards. But before that, there was a Rio Declaration plus 12. There was Kyoto Declaration. So Agenda 21 and UN Conference on Sustainable Development. So these are the things that are actually movements by the global society in attempts to save the world. So SDG 17, actually the latest concept on sustainable development. It is again an attempt, a global community attempts to balance the equilibrium between the three main domains of the society, economy. The three domains are economy, social, and environment. So what are actually, when we are talking about socio-economic objectives, what are actually those things, these mouthful things? Here is quite simple actually. When you do the development, always when we say the development, we cannot deny that development is needed and required for the purpose of developing the country. You need to develop, otherwise you cannot progress, you cannot sustain a society. So, but in doing so, you need to balance, and you cannot do that at the expense of the environment. So like I said here, just there at the bottom of my slide, any types of development plans, program, or activities could and should not, could not and should not dispel the social economic interests and benefits of the society. But the best thing is that beginning from 2015, the world has started to expand their worldview about what is actually social development or what is actually social economic objectives. These two concepts has been injected. All this while, when we're talking ever since Rio Declaration and Agenda 22 and Sustainable Development Conference in 1980s, people were talking only about sustainable development. So again, it was just giving emphasis on the economic development and only on the environment. The social aspect of development was not taken into consideration seriously. But these things changed in 2015, when we had the United Nations had a declaration and conference, and then after that issue a declaration. So that was the first time when socio-economic objectives and socio-economic development concept was integrated into the whole concept. And when we're talking about social, on the slide, I have listed few things, or the items or the criteria of things that you should look at and should consider when you do a socio-economic development, or from social point of view. So it includes culture, it includes poverty. So you can see a long list there. Whereas when it comes to economy, it's still more or less the same. It's about economic growth. It's about economic stability, and about economic resiliency. Yeah? So in that sense, the economic part still maintains, but the biggest movement or the biggest progression that the global society has made when it comes to socio-economic objectives is by integrating and injecting the social aspect into sustainable development of any country. So that you can see that's a long list of that. Even in fact, they even include morality issues, human rights, employment, peace and safety, even justice. These things were never discussed before this. Okay, so here, what are the statement of problem when it comes to my topic? This is important because the term socio-economic development was mentioned in one document that is our national document. In short form, it is called MRDCS. MRDCS document. MRDCS stands actually for Malaysian Research and Development Classification System. This document is important because, as you can see that in column number 2, in row number 2, I mentioned what are the functions of MRDC. This is actually very relevant to all researchers and academicians, policymakers, planners, and even implementers, because it has a lot of functions. And as far as academicians and researchers are concerned, we need to refer to this MRDCS document for the purpose of applying our grant, because this document provides you the code number for your application. If your code is wrong, then your grant application would be rejected. That is one of the functions of MRDCS. Currently, this one is 6. So it has a lot of functions. So for as far as researchers are concerned, it guides us for grant application, and also it helps us to determine what would be our contributions and how can we measure our research performance. So as far as why I mentioned MRDCS, because this is the only document that contains SEO. Other than that, we have done the research and then we try to look where else, where does this, where can we find the term SEO in other documents in Malaysia? We cannot find. This is the only document that contains this important concept. So, and then as far as MRDCS is concerned, you can check with MOSTI website. They have uploaded the what we call the soft copy, so you can have a look at it. The structure, the MRDCS is structured in a very easy, very simple manner, in the sense that it has two sections. One section is actually listing of all field of research, or we call it FOR. This is the input for R&D, R&D, and it is very discipline based, and it's about a body of knowledge in nature. For example, it has, for example, what we call it natural science. It has social science, the body of knowledge for social science, body of knowledge for humanity. So it has a long list of FOR. And the second part is where it's concerning our research. And my topic today is about socio-economic objectives. By right, by definitions, socio-economic objective should be more objective based, and it should reflect the economic benefits and contribution in terms of output and also outcome. So that when we measure as any panel in measuring or in assessing a research or any activity, we would look, okay, what would be your SEO? How does your research contribute towards the SEO of the country? So we look, and then we check whether it's true or not. So that is the most important about SEO. And then as far as when MRDCS, when they have when the data and the information is arranged, they're arranged in a specific manner, and it is arranged in hierarchy terms. For FOR, there are 4 hierarchy. It started off with the biggest, of course, division. Second layer is category. Third layer is group, and last area is area. And when it comes to SEO, it has 4 tiers. It has 3 tiers. It is almost the same like FOR, but the arrangement is that it has only division, category, and group, as in FOR, but it doesn't have any areas. This is logic, because SEO is supposed to be the outcome and the output of the research. So it is not limited to any specific discipline like engineering or like I mentioned there. So here, like I mentioned also, SEO, basically in generally, SEO is actually the real added value of MRDCS document, so that it helps researcher and academician to identify the focus area and the contribution of the research at area level and at all the 3 levels, and then so that the benefits or the real benefits of the research can be actually proven. It's not based on mere claims or by chance only. So the last year MRDCS version 6 has 6 MRDs, has 6 SEOs. Like mentioned there, number 1 is defense and security. Number 2 is sustainable economic and sustainable development, and then environment, advancement of knowledge, and again the advancement of knowledge, it has been separated from applied industry, applied science. So that is what is happening in version 6. So what is the problem there? We conducted a preliminary research among researchers, top researchers, among research center or research management of public research universities, because we want to know how many of researchers and academicians in Malaysia are aware about SEO, are aware about FOR, or are aware about the MRDCS document itself. And then we also interviewed the preliminary studies. We also interviewed the top researchers in Malaysia of their field. So then based on their answers, we found out 90% of the researchers do not pay much attention to SEO when filling in their forms for SEO. For example, in terms of, I think maybe all of us are familiar with FRGS. So there is they ask you to tick what would be your division, what would be your area, what would be your contribution. Those tick, those table actually based on this kind of information, but it's been converted into a forms. So it's easier. But in reality, these are the things that behind those forms. And then researchers openly admitted when they fill in their application grant application the form, they fill in for the sake of grant approval. They say that they just tick at the end of the day. When they say that what is their SEO, they just say that okay lah, main agak-agak okay lah, this sounds good, maybe this is the trend. Like for example, nowadays when you talk about AI, when you talk about Internet of Things, when you talk about artificial intelligence, the chances, the preconceived assumption is that the chances of your application, your grant application being approved is higher as compared to other fields. So they just put this matter of that. But whether it's true or not, whether their research by the end of the day would really contribute to the area, to the SEO as claimed or not, is never founded. It's never checked. It's never what we call this never questioned. So because there is no panel to question about or panel to assess once the project once the research is complete, there is no panel to really check whether the research actually have truly contributed to the claim SEO. And then of course they will say that they don't really understand how to connect their FOR, the field of areas, the body of knowledge, to the correct SEO. So our project started off, one of the research questions that we asked is that what is actually the most suitable socio-economic objective? What is the socio-economic objective of MRDCS? What are the meanings and function? And what are the criteria used in measuring SEO and MRDCS? So the research question, as you see there, you see there. Yeah. So our data actually, this research involve primary and secondary data. We do a benchmark. A lot of documents were involved in doing the benchmark. So those are the things listed that you can see in the benchmark. We benchmark it against price cutting manual, the UN document, Australian document, few. So you can see that even the local documents also, we also benchmark our MRDCS, the SEO of MRDCS against the current major policies of the government. For example, Shared Prosperity Vision 2020, Destin. Those are a few things that we mentioned there. Those are the major policy documents. And then, of course, when we collect the data, the primary data, we conducted a focus group discussion. And I forgot to mention that we also have seminar. We invited all 293 experts of subject matter experts were involved. From all over Malaysia. They are representing the Port Helix. They are representing the government. We call people from the ministries, various ministries. One, for example, Ministry of Trade, International Trade and Industry, Agriculture, Women's and Family, and then KPT. Who else? KPT, and then a few others for the ministry. And then the largest group are actually the academicians and researchers from all over Malaysia. So that's why we are able to get 293 experts, and not to forget the experts also researchers from the private sector. And then also company. They are actively doing research or actively advising the government on research R&D areas. So these are the I think each focus group discussion is actually we conducted at least 4 focus group discussion to cater the 4 different groups of subject matters experts. Okay, here are the sample of the MRDCS 6th edition. As you can see, they have 6 SEO. You can see the division I mentioned just now. It is structured at division and category level. But here I just show you the 2 tier, division and category. For example, the division is SEO is actually defense and security, and the category is defense and logistics. And then for sustainable economic development, they start is slightly longer. So it mentioned that, for example, plant production and primary production, energy resources, energy supply, something like that, and then society, health. So the list goes on. So this is actually the one that we were asked to look at and do some analysis and try to and was asked by Musti to improve. So okay, so this is what we do. Like I said just now, in our methodology, we do the benchmark and we do the content analysis about the contents of MRDCS 6, and we don't start only with MRDCS 6, but we look also at least MRDCS 5, and then actually there are many versions before. So, but at least the nearest is MRDCS version 5th edition and also 6th edition. So this, and then we map it against benchmark documents, international and local document, before producing the SEO for the MRD, and before proposing a new SEO for the new document. So, okay, what are our findings? Actually, we found out there are loopholes in the SEO of MRDCS 6th edition. It's quite mind-boggling actually. We've been asking this question: why is it the SEO of 6th edition is limited to certain sectors or communities alone? If you can recall here, I'm mentioning here, you can see, please please focus on here. For example, defense and security. The category is defense and logistics. So we were asking why the SEO is only limiting the category only to defense, meaning that to the defense, meaning that people who are only involved in defense and logistics. What about others? What about let's say biotechnology? What about linguists, or what about legal people? Can they contribute towards the SEO? So these are the questions that actually being raised. So it's quite that we don't have the answer, but we ask nonetheless, and then we take note of these loopholes. I give you the example there. For example, defending and providing security for the nation, as found is they limited it to military and engineering communities alone and not open to others. This goes against the very words of MRDCS document, which promise that the SEO is actually open to all fields. It's not limited and it's not special to any field of knowledge. And also, then this problem is being repeated in SEO 3 and SEO 4 and 5 and so on. So you can see and look at this, but this is actually the trend that being repeated in SEO of MRDCS 6 document. So like I mentioned just now, so these are the example of the international benchmark indeed, the SDG document. The ANZRC is actually referring to Australia, New Zealand research classification. They also have the same. Maybe the nomenclature is different, but it is actually, when you look into detail, when you go deeper, you find that it actually is the same. When SDG 2030 talking about poverty, but in ANZRC document, they mentioned it is being grouped as a society, under society. Under OECD 2015, it falls under health. So the same, like zero hunger. So you can see that it's just a matter of nomenclature and matter of labeling, but more or less the spirit and the principles are the same. So this is what we have done. After that, we have done, this is actually the general findings, the whole findings of our analysis of MRDCS. We cannot find what was the benchmark, used by the developer of the previous edition. When they developed MRDCS 6 version, we do not know. There was no information what was the benchmark they used. The only thing that we can be sure was they must be referring to Pascati manual also, because there are certain similar words we found in the MRDCS SEO of MRDCS 6th edition. We found some similarity of words there, and then on surface level, all the SEOs appear to be in line with the current movement of the world. But things get more complicated and more complex at category and group level. And then what we call this, the most unfortunate thing about SEO of MRDCS 6 version is that the labeling is too general and oversimplified. So in the end of the day, because of this oversimplicity, it fails to capture certain spirit of the SEO. it doesn't, it makes it quite difficult for innocent researcher or innocent reader for the first time to understand what is this SEO all about, because they cannot see the objective. Yeah. And then of course, this happens because there's a lot of gaps in it. And then, like I mentioned just now, the SEO is putting limits. So for example, in the SEO that for defense and sovereignty, it is limited only to military and only to civil engineering, but not to other areas of study. So that is not fair, and it's a waste of effort if that is the case. And then because of that, by limiting the what we call the FOR that contributes to SEO, as the document itself is actually going against its own promises. Because of this, that makes it difficult for readers to connect and to see the real direction. So when we are proposing, when we say that, okay, we need, because of this, there is a need to paraphrase the concept and the meaning and the functions of the SEO of Malaysia, or in this case, the SEO of MRDCS document. It still covers the new proposal. It is important for us to make sure that when in proposing the new proposal, it is important to cover the three domains that mentioned just now, the economy, social, and environment. But instead of functioning independently and in silos, they need to be integrated and they need to be interconnected. And then instead of being input based, the SEO needs to be objective, and the SEO needs to be output and outcome based. This is the biggest weakness of the current SEO. So you can see that when after doing the benchmark and after doing the analysis, our team come up with 5 new proposals for the SEO with a new meaning and labeling, which we believe is more relatable and practical. Why we say it is more relatable and practical? Because all the data and evidence were collected from the 293 subject matter experts, and instead of being input based, it is now outcome based. And because of that, we are able to make sure that to able design it so that it is more directional, and it is more moving towards a bigger agenda of the socio-economic of the country, and also for nation building. By so doing, we are able to open now the SEO, the new proposed SEOs are open to all field of knowledge. So you can see that why I said that. You can see in my example. For example, before this, for example, a researcher in linguistics might not be able or cannot easily find how can they contribute towards the SEO. For example, how can they contribute towards the socio-economic of the country, because there is no way for the research in linguistic or research in language to be able to clearly say that I contribute towards this SEO of the country. The best that they can do is that they can just say that I contribute towards the expansion of knowledge. But actually that is not so true and not so accurate. As you can see in my example, by making it open to all, by making it clearer, by making it more objective based, it could fit the needs of various backgrounds of researchers. So they also can together contribute towards a bigger agenda of nation building. So here are the example, our new proposed new SEO. You can see that we compared it with the existing SEO. Here, for example, the existing one, 6 divisions, saying it's defense and security. We have renamed it to be governance and national sovereignty. And the category, instead of defense and logistics, it now the category is more objective based for outcome based. We are doing this, we are doing research so that you are contributing towards a better governance, towards external deterrence. You're doing research in defense and security for external deterrence, for external defense, resilience, or partnership. So those kind of things. And of course, if you look in the real document, there are more details at the group level, but lack of space, I cannot include them in because of lack of space. I think you can go and have a look yourself and see what are the group items under that we have listed under the group areas. Yeah? So same, the sustainable development and sustainable economic development. So instead of sustainable as economic development, it's just being renamed as economic empowerment. When we're talking about economic empowerment, we're talking about the category of, we're talking about economic growth, equity and stability, society being renamed as human and social resiliency, environment, environment sustainability, and then advancement of knowledge and advancement of experimental and applied knowledge. We don't understand why these two areas were split. So now it's being combined and then renamed as advancement of knowledge and learning. So let me show you the details. Okay, when talking about governance and national sovereignty, this is actually adopted based on the Hanro concept of defense. In the Hanro concept of defense, there are three layers of defense mechanism. At the most outer layer is the military, so that they can protect the defense of the country and sovereignty of the country. And then police, when it comes to police has a different function from the military. They are to provide security for the public. So when the first layer of defense collapses, you only can, now you can rely on the police. So what happened when the defense, the second layer of defense collapse? Now you have to rely on the civil defense, or this is where for the purpose of public safety. So here in Malaysia, civil defense refers to Angkatan Pertahanan Malaysia. So we can say that this is the concept of Hanro. A few years back, people were talking about this concept, but now it's evaporated. So you can see that the SEO is actually to nurture the spirit of love for the country, patriotism, and defend the country against aggression. So you can see that this is where we redesign it. Like I said just now, it's more directional, it's more outcome and output based. Okay, same with economic, the second proposed SEO, that is for economic empowerment. As you can read in the green block, I just want to just explain a little bit where do we get this concept, economic empowerment. This one is actually adopted from Finnish SEO's document. I think after doing the literature, my team found that the Finnish SEO is actually the most what we call the expensive and most holistic as compared to others, because in the Finnish SEO, they mentioned about, when you talk about economic empowerment, they talk about this concept of growth. And then once you grow, you need to maintain that growth. And then if you can do better than maintain, you need to prosper. So when it comes to grow, we are talking about economic equity and economic equality. When you talk about maintaining economic empowerment, you need economic stability. We can see that how, for example, every time there is an economic meltdown, Malaysia easily became vulnerable to all this happening far from our shore. The economic meltdown happens in US, we are affected. When the COVID was the best example. When due to COVID-19, the whole economy, the whole world economy stopped, and so are we. So our economy become destabilized. So we need to have a stable economy. So we need researchers that can contribute in finding towards that economic stability. And apart from that, it is important, apart from stability, you need also to be resilient. How can you be resilient so that you remain competitive? So these are the concepts when we redesign economic empowerment. Because before this, if you can see, before this, the economic development, they were talking about, hold on, okay, I mentioned it here. When talking about here, you can see that this one is a bit it's difficult for you to see where is the direction. Why you are talking about plant production? How is it sustainable economic development? Why is it limited to plant production and primary production only? And then why is it you're talking about marine resources? You're not talking about the rest. So this is a question. So that's why we say that it is more like input based and it's not outcome based. So we change it into outcome and output based, and then becomes more directional. So, and then third one is what is this? Third one is yes, this is society, human rights. This one is sorry, the economic empowerment. So this one is actually refers to we adopted this the idea when we proposed this, we paraphrase this SEO. The idea came and after reading Maslow theory of needs. So we look at what is actually what are the needs of the society, different needs of the society at different level. So Maslow theory of needs actually explain that needs very well. So that's why when we talk about social, we talk about social humanity and social societal resiliency. This is important to talk about here. You need to fulfill the individual and societal needs at various levels. Why we include societal resiliency? Again, we can see that it has something to do with the first SEO. This is for also part of the process of creating that patriotism amongst patriotic sense of patriotism amongst citizens, because the society becomes very low in resilience whenever there is an attack, foreign attack against our economy, against our culture, and also our what we call the way of living. So that's why we say that okay, we rename it societal resiliency, and then of course there are under the groups more details about what are your human needs, what are your social needs. Okay, and then environmental sustainability, again, this is very direct, so has contribute directly to social economic objective. This is to protect the environment and also planet Earth from being jeopardized at the expense of environment, at the expense of economic development. So the concept of when we redesign or rehash the term SEO for environmental sustainability, the concept is actually adopted from sustainable forest management concept. After comparing with various concepts of sustainability, our team found that sustainable forest management is the most expensive, and it is the most, what we say, the only concept that talks about replacement. Because other concept, they just talk about, okay, use, if you want to use, you need to use it sustainably. And you want, if you use, you cannot exhaust all, you need to conserve some for the future. But they did not talk about replacement. But the concept of replacement was mentioned in sustainable forest management. So that's why when we talk, when we rephrase the SEO number 4, the replacement or conservation was introduced. So that's why we can say that when you do this, you can look at whether you are doing your consumption is sustainable or not. And what about your production and conservation and replacement? So that it really fits, so that there would be a continuous future, a better future for our environment and also planet Earth. Okay, and then lastly is actually advancement of knowledge. This is again, we cannot deny that knowledge happens. Creation of new knowledge happens by accident or by design. You cannot stop knowledge from being created. So this is based on theory of knowledge expansion. Even though, so we say that SEO, we acknowledge that we're going to put this advancement of knowledge. This is the most general SEO of the document, because this is where we say that any type of research that have a finding, but they don't know what is actually the use of that finding. You are yet to find the finding. You are yet to know. Maybe your finding or the use of your finding would be applied by other FOR, by other area of research. Or maybe not now, but maybe would be applied in 10 years or 20 years from now. But that doesn't mean that you don't do anything. The researchers have contributed something. So, but they just don't know where it could be applied and what are their use. So because of that, we put the contributions of the researcher is actually towards advancement of knowledge, because it is impossible to stop knowledge from expanding, because this is based on the belief that a small input would later contribute towards a bigger benefits. So, all right. So in conclusion, when we paraphrase the SEO, the what we call it, the intention of paraphrasing the SEO of MRDCS is required, is based on the intention that the MRDCS document is important. It is one of the major documents for R&D in Malaysia, and this document would be there for the next at least 10 years or 5 to 10 years from now. So we need to correct the SEO so that it actually reflects the contributions of the research conducted by the research or by the research committee or by the academics. Because of that, it has to be directional and it has to be outcome and also output based. It cannot maintain like now, like currently the 6 MRDCS document is more input based. So when it actually, when you say the input based, it is automatically contradicting with your title, social economic objective. So it cannot be input based, it must be objective based. So the reason why we do this is that so that it is in line with the current movements of other international documents. Once this document is accepted, hopefully, if it is accepted by MUSTI and been implemented, we can see the alignments of the documents with the current trend. Okay, with that, I stop my presentation. Thank you.
Right. Okay. It was an informative presentation from the second last speaker. So since that we have running out of time, so I would like to invite our last presenter to present her paper, which bring the topic of consumers' perception of agricultural market products in Selangor, a preliminary study. So
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Can you all hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, our moderator, Miss Hanani. Congratulations to I-ConSPADU 2021 for organizing this such wonderful events. Okay, I'm Nurhaila, a lecturer from Faculty of Business and Accountancy. Today, I'm going to present the research on consumer perceptions of agricultural market products in Selangor. This is a preliminary study. My group members consist of Cik Ida Farina Muhammad Yunus, a team leader, Dr. Kamisa Sufian, Puan Aznita Ahmad, and Puan Sharifah Hilmi. Okay, so for today's presentation outline, will consist of introduction, problem statement, research question, purpose of study, research method, findings and conclusions. Okay. Okay. When we talk about pasar tani, okay, what is the first impression that come across to our mind? Okay, because normally pasar tani are known also as farmers market. So I hope everybody in this room have an experience went to pasar tani. Okay, so we can see in pasar tani there are sellers or farmers selling fresh local agricultural product. Okay, such as fresh vegetables, fresh fish, meats, okay, fruits. And then we can see also, okay, there is an interaction between buyers and sellers where buyers can ask questions to the sellers. Okay, for example, how they produce the product, okay, and about their foods and everything. So this is supported by Brata et al. 2017 says that consumers have the freedom to pick based on their requirement and purchasing power, while sellers compete to give competitive prices. So it means consumer can have an interaction, okay, with the seller, and then they can bargain the price, okay, and then they can choose which one they want to buy. Okay, they can choose the fresh local agriculture product selling in the pasar tani. Okay, so in order to gain a loyalty, okay, the farmers must give knowledge, sharing a better price to the customer, because it can give more profit to the farmers. Okay, but due to the increase in the price of energy and other economic issues, okay, which has resulted in customers being forced to pay higher prices for food such as fresh vegetable, fish, meat, and fruits. This is said by Alauddin et al. 2015. Okay, so the consumer want to acquire things of the highest quality at the lowest possible price. So therefore, this study aims to examine the consumer perceptions of agricultural market products, concentrating on pasar tani in Selangor. Okay, now we go to the problem statement. Okay, in year 2017, according to Pharma 2021, there were 47 Pharma pasar tani locations in Selangor, and these figures increased to 52 locations, okay, in 2021. So this shows that the importance of Pharma pasar tani, okay, and this one need to be reviewed in order to maintain and keep its relevant to farmers and consumer. Okay, because now we know, right, the supermarket and mall, they always offer a discount and they give the lower price. So that's why we need to know, okay, and the importance, okay, the relevance to the farmers in terms of pasar tani. So in order to gain customer loyalty, okay, to come to the pasar tani, okay, we need to know, okay, what is the customer perceptions toward pasar tani? Because if the customer perceptions is good, so this will give the customer satisfaction. Okay, so then they can create the customer loyalty. So the customer loyalty is very important variables, because this will affect, okay, the overall earnings, okay, for the farmers. Because if you already have the customer will come, okay, even though the price a little bit higher compared to the supermarket, etc. Okay, so stated by Ganayu 2017 said that customer satisfaction is extremely important in building and enhancing customer loyalty, okay, by implementing strategies that will guarantee long-term relationship by offering service quality that will meet and exceed their expectation. So as I mentioned just now, okay, customer satisfaction is important in order to gain customer loyalty. So therefore, the research is necessary for agricultural products sold in Pharma pasar tani, because it explains how quality, trustworthiness, and price strategy affect consumer perceptions of agricultural market products in Selangor. Okay, so the research question based on the above problems are, what are the factors that influence customer loyalty? Okay, we want to know the factors influence the customer loyalty. And then the second one, is customer satisfaction crucial in maintaining customer loyalty? Okay, and then here I would like to tell the purpose of the study. Okay, so in order to gain the customer satisfactions, okay, the managers or the sellers need to consider the areas such as the knowledge of consumer requirement and their desire, and then to maintain the product quality and changing a fair price. So therefore, Okay, this will result of the client happiness. Okay, the client happiness is critical because if the client happy, they will come and it will increase the sales. So when the sales increase, it will give more profit to the sellers. Okay, so it can create more activities or increase the turnover for the sellers in Pasar Tani. Okay, therefore, understanding the primary contributors to customer happiness and loyalty behavior is critical for any company with a large consumer base. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, the study aims to examine the consumer's perceptions of agriculture market products in Selangor and focus on the essential characteristics that have the most significant impact on consumer happiness, which leads to customer loyalty to agricultural products at Selangor Farmer Pasar Tani. Okay, this is the research method. Okay, this preliminary study, okay, we use quantitative method where a structured questionnaire was created to collect data. The questionnaire is divided into 4 main parts. The first one is demographic, and then the 3 parts covered 7 construct, which is repurchase intention, purchase value, trustworthiness, quality perception, price perception, customer satisfaction, and consumer loyalty. The items selected for this study were measured on 4-point Likert scale. Okay, and then the respondents were being approached directly to answer the question. The questionnaires were randomly distributed to farmer Pasar Tani buyers in section 13 Shah Alam, Selangor. A total of 30 respondents participate in the pilot test. Okay, the demographic data. Okay, the sample of respondent consists of female 86.7%, male 13.3%. The majority age was 46 to 50 years. And then the total respondent is 100% Malay, 80% married, single 20%. Okay, in terms of income category, M40 consists of 43.3%, B40 consists of 11%, T20 consists of 6%. Okay, this is the finding. Okay, so the first one is repurchase intention. Okay, the finding indicates that 90% of the respondent strongly agree they will come to Pasar Tani more often and will always buy fresh products from Pasar Tani. Okay, which contributes to repurchase intention. Okay, this is supported by Bupalan et al. 2019, saying that the consumer attitude can have an impact on their intention to repurchase, and if the product continue to attract the interest of the consumer, they will purchase it for second time. Okay, and then the second one, in terms of purchase value, okay, the data shows a total 100% of the respondent strongly agree that they found positive value in terms of benefit and purchase cost of buying Pharma Pasar Tani products. So consumer believe buying product from Pharma Pasar Tani will give purchase value to them, 100%. Okay, okay. In terms of trustworthiness, 100% of the respondent, okay, agreed that purchasing experience influenced the purchase of product at Pharma Pasar Tani. 100% sellers also, Pharma Pasar Tani sellers provide accurate information regarding the sales of the product. And then 100% agreed and strongly agreed that they trust the product from Pharma Pasar Tani. So therefore, consumer believe buying product from Pharma Pasar Tani will give purchase value to them. Okay. Oh, sorry. The information provided by the seller and trust in products could influence customer trustworthiness towards product produced by Pharma Pasar Tani. Okay. Okay, next finding is quality perceptions. Okay, in terms of quality, 100% from the respondent agreed and strongly agreed on the consistent quality product from Pharma Pasatani. Okay, and then 96.6% strongly agreed that Pharma Pasatani sell freshness of products. Okay, and then consumers expect high quality products that are reasonably priced and easily obtainable. Based on Yusof 2019 said that the higher the quality of the products and services offered, the greater the customer's enjoyment, leading to profit for producers. So in a way, the finding could indicate that consumers have a positive perceptions of the quality of products from Pharma Pasatani. And then next is price perception. Okay, in terms of price perceptions, 100% of the respondents agreed that the price of product at Pharma Pasatani is according to the current market price. And then 100% also agreed that the price of Pharma Pasatani product is adequate with quality and appropriate. So therefore, the finding discovered consumers have strong confidence in the price of product at Pharma Pasatani. In terms of customer satisfactions, 100% of respondents strongly agree or agreed that Pharma Pasatani products and services are satisfactory. Okay, based on Ganiu 2017 said that in order for customer to be satisfied, the product or service must meet both instrumental and expressive expectations. This indicates the consumer are truly satisfied with all services and products provided by Pharma Pasatani. And lastly, based on consumer loyalty, okay, Pharma Pasatani has loyal consumer, which is consistent with the argument by Puspaningrum 2018 that suggested in order to get loyal customer, retailers must first establish a positive image in the eyes of consumer, since the image of the store will ultimately influence consumer rating of the store existence. Supported also by Ganiu 2017, customer loyalty is influenced by a number of other independent variables, including pricing, perceived values, brand image, and psychological and social features. Okay, so this is the conclusions. Okay, the study emphasized the factors that influence consumer repurchase intention at Pharma Pasatani. So there is a significant relationship between purchase value consists of trustworthiness, quality perception, price perception, and customer satisfaction and loyalty, and repurchase intention. Number two, consumers' trust in Pharma Pasatani sellers is influenced by their purchasing experience and the authenticity of the information provided by the sellers regarding their product. Third, consumers also stated that the products sold at Pharma Pasatani were consistent in terms of freshness, quality, and diversity of option, which were always better than imported products. Therefore, consumers are prepared to spend more money at Pharma Pasatani because the products are cheaper or at a level with the current market price, and the quality and freshness are presumed. Lastly, consumers are pleased with the service offered by the vendors, and their devotion to Pharma Pasatani contributed to the repurchase intentions. Okay, so this is the conclusion where is answered the problem set research question just now. Okay, before I end my presentation, I, on behalf of my group, would like to thank Selangor State, okay, for funding this research under Grant Industry Semester MBI 2020. Okay, thank you. Any question from the floor?
Assalamualaikum, Haila.
Yeah, Dr. Azila.
Yeah, I would like to congratulate to you. It's a very interesting study. Why do I say interesting? That most, it's not most, I mean almost all, yeah, all of your questions are answered 100% agreed.
Yes, 100% agree.
Are you saying 100% agreed and you see, are you using 5 or 7 like a scale?
4.
Only 4.
Strongly disagree, agree, and strongly agree.
So when
Only
you
4 Likert scale.
4, only 4 like a scale.
Yeah.
Okay, when you say 100%, does it include strongly agree and agree, or just strongly agree?
Include strongly agree and agree.
Oh, okay. No wonder you get all 100%, right? All of the
Yeah.
items.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are, I think they are the loyal customer for Pasar Tani.
Okay. Which pasar tani that you go to?
Section 13, Dr. Nazila, stadium, at the stadium.
Oh, stadium, the big one, yeah?
Have you been there?
Yeah.
The
You go,
product,
I consider myself to go there, you know, jogging plus shopping in a way.
yeah,
But it's really huge. But you are using only one station, yeah? One location.
this one is only for pilot study, doctor.
Ah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for final research, we include all Pasar Tani in Selangor.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah, I would like to suggest, because this is very, you were to have only 4 scale and you could see that more towards the right one. Maybe you
Yeah.
extend it a bit. Maybe 1 to 10 is maybe is the best. You could see there is a variety of answering the question.
1 to 10, doctor?
1 to 10. Now the latest one is 1 to 10, Ellen and Rao. So you have more choices that you could see variety there, variances in terms of the responses. Otherwise, you could have all 100%. So if you have all 100%, what's the point of having the study? You know it's all there, right?
Okay,
Right.
correct.
That is just my mere suggestion. Other than that, it's really an interesting study. Congratulations.
Yeah, because I think this Pasar Tani, normally the sellers are from Malay, right, doctor? So we have to support them. Okay, so that's why.
Maybe another suggestion, because you have this one is really it's located in the city, right? And in the Selangor, maybe you could have comparative study in rural, see how it goes. So whether or not you are still having 100% responses of satisfying, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nazila.
Welcome.
No, sorry.
Any more questions?
Angka tak ada. Angka keluar kot. Alahai.
Tak ada question.
Amir boleh letak air tu dekat tempat.
It was an interesting presentation from our last presenter. So is there any queries from the crowd? I've seen one in the chat box. Right. I think that's it. Okay. Is there any questions left from the audience? All right. Okay. I would like to thank everyone for sharing your expertise, knowledge, and experience related to our field today, which is business and management. All of the presenters have finished delivering their presentations. Our parallel session has finally come to an end. All the presenters are welcome to attend our main ceremony in the main room. So we can take a break at 12:30 and can come back to the main room at 2 p.m. to join our keynote speech from Dr. James Wilton, an associate professor from Imperial College London, United Kingdom. We also have our forum session from Dr. Thomas, the co-founder and managing partner, Dr. Amjad Ms. Hussain, the Associate Professor in the Faculty of Divinity at Marmara University, Istanbul, Turkey, and Professor Dr. Amir Shaharuddin, the Chief Executive Officer at Yayasan Wakaf Malaysia. So all the delegates and all the presenters may take your break now and come back at the main room at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Assalamualaikum semua. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson and everyone.
Thank
Assalamualaikum.
you all.
Question.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Hanani, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, ada soalan untuk saya tadi.
Yeah.
Yang tanya, can they contribute to SDG? Boleh lah, SDG tu is the general thing, tapi the SEO is more focused. So if you are saying that SDG, you are talking about katalah gender equality. So that gender equality is the social objective. So social objective falls under social, human and societal resiliency. So you look into the document and then you go look, because I just showed you the division and the category, but the itemization of social resiliency itu, you have to look more detail at the group level. Then you will find about for example, the gender equality. So it falls generally falls under number 3 lah. So SEO number 3, that is human and societal resiliency. So you need to, like I said, it's nomenclature. For SDG, they use it differently. For us, of course, we cannot have the 17 SDG, but in our SEO, it has to be regrouped as according to what Musti wants. So Musti wants it to be 5, so we have to regroup it in that way. Yeah, but still can, not a problem.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can you give me your email address?
Okay, siapa tu? I talking to me or?
Oh, no.
Prof cakap dengan saya ke cakap dengan orang lain?
Tak, I was talking to my student. Anyway, it's a very, very interesting study, Prof. I find that, wow, you have found, is it already taken into consideration by the authorities?
Yes, it will be implemented between the time that we send the proposal and now. Musti has accepted and implemented our proposal. So if you look at what we call this Musti punya what we call this website, you go to, you just type lah MRDCS 7 version. You may find it there. When we corrected the 6 version, now it's really the 7 version. It is important for researchers.
It is really good because it's an eye opener, because whatever they are saying, it should be the way, right? It covers everything. Otherwise, it just in silo. So
that's why we are saying that we are doing we are sharing this information with research RMC, Research Management Center of many public or private universities, in telling them when you apply, you do it this way, because if you apply it correctly, then not only you are contributing correctly to Malaysia, and also it is the data that you are contributing is also correct, because all this while, like I said now, people just take their SEO for the sake of getting the grant.
Exactly, Doctor. I agree with you.
Then you look at it and say that suddenly, how come they kata, okay, let's say for example they are talking saying for defense. When we look, it's not about defense, it's about management. Management is under social science. Even though you are from defense, katalah Universiti Pertahanan, they have a research grant. So they say that we are pertahanan. So definitely we are talking about pertahanan. But when you look at actually their contribution is towards management. So it's not pertahanan.
Gotcha.
So, but
Okay.
then the witnesses is that there is no panel that actually assessing and tengok check. So this is what we have been proposing, informing
I think
mostly.
your findings should be shared by all, Prof. Then only, I mean, all this while we are using that the old one, so that is why it was kept that way. So the new one, I think it's really
Yes,
really
we had difficult time when we tried to study the SEO, the old SEO too. We have it took us 3 months to understand the document, to understand the SEO and what are they talking about? What are
how many of you? How many researchers that you're working with?
My team, and then we have two RAs, two research officers. So 7 of us to do those things. So we had so much headache trying to decipher what is this MRDCS all about. Then the best thing is that when you talk to the RMC, we invited all the RMC of all 5 universities.
And then they have the jaw drop.
We managed to get the top researchers, the name of top researchers from individual top researchers. We call them and then we tanya, are you aware of SEO? Okay, the RMC, maybe the director is aware. The rest, no. The researchers, the common researchers, even the top researchers, no, they don't know. And then when we go for our focus discussion, we say that, have you heard, have you seen this document? 100% kata tak pernah.
There you go.
So macam dah, okay. So macam tu lah. So it was
it's a great discovery.
it's a great, yeah. Like I said, that is something that wow. But
I mean, for the future, for the future research that is really needed here, so that it covers comprehensively.
KPT is, inshallah, KPT, the FRGS grant is going to follow this one.
Great.
Because we said that we are tired because KPT have their own code, their own objective, agriculture.
Independently,
independent. So we are slowly trying to integrate all. It's not easy to make them agree. To say that there are loopholes and then nak cakap these are the loopholes pun kena cakap baik-baik. Nanti dia orang marah.
Tapi tak apa, you substantiate with all the evidence, which is, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Okay, right. So that's why I say that it is important for the researchers to know about this document and understand the SEO. Kalau tidak nanti sayang, your research might be good, you ada potential, tapi because of your SEO is wrong, you rejected. Ataupun we give you money thinking that you will contribute to the particular SEO that the government wants, and then actually it's not. You are not contributing that. So you are actually disclosing wrong data. When we are collecting the data for good purposes, it is actually wrong. So rugilah untuk tujuan budget. Because government pun dia ada prioritization kan, which area they want to prioritize for the next 5 years. So we need to know. So macam lah all the trickeries. Okay, I think that's
thank
all.
you.
Okay, Prof, thank you merayan saya.
Thank you so much, Prof. It's really groundbreaking research. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hanani. See you again at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Everyone. Okay. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Okay, hello.